You also have another business you have out there with our sponsors. Actually, I've been talking with you guys, and we're the racewatches.com is going to be probably selling your product shortly. You design watches.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
Well, another of those things. It was never really planned.
Hmm.
It happened when I was still in Formula One. Actually, I was approached by one of the Swiss brands to be, well, they didn't call it ambassador back
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
as they do now. Now everybody's an ambassador or a friend of the
Hmm.
brands. But they asked me to help them promote this particular watch they made, and it was. I mean, to be truthful, it was pretty ugly, this watch, and I didn't feel very comfortable taking their money and not be
Hmm.
wearing the watch. So
Hmm.
I said, well, and I've always been interested in design and art since I was real young.
Hmm.
So why don't we try to make something together, collaborate and make a design, and it can be my design or whatever. So that's kind of how it started, and it didn't work out with that particular brand for a number of different reasons. Because mostly I wanted to do a little bit more high end stuff
Hmm.
with mechanical movements and complications and stuff. So, but it sparked enough interest, and it taught me the process to enough for me to sort of carry on
Hmm.
and do. So I did my own designs way back then, and had them pre-sold into Japan basically through a distributor there. So that's kind of how it started, and then it kind of faded a little bit because I got too busy with my racing again. So it was always on the back burner for years and years. I just did a few pieces here and there, like a limited edition of 24
Hmm.
every year to commemorate Le Mans every year, and
Hmm.
some custom made stuff and so on. So it's only really the last couple of years I started to treat it as a real business again, and we're on our way now. We've got two brand new designs coming out pretty soon, and I've actually invented a movement that I'm filing patents on at the moment, which is going to be very interesting caliber. That it'll be a couple of years before we can see a finished product, but it's going to be pretty revolutionary. In
Wow. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
if,
So which
if
is really exciting. I mean,
yeah.
that's I love that whole process and
Hmm.
sort of getting into the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, well, inventing, designing your own watch movement. I've been around racing for 20 some years, and I know how engines work and all these things different work. But when I look in a watch movement, I'm like, my eyes glazed over. I go, how do you
Yeah.
design something like that? And you've designed your own movement. That's incredible. I'm impressed.
Well, it's not finished yet, so don't say too much until we know if it's going to work or not. But
Hmm.
it's an exciting concept.
Hmm.
When I say I design, I mean I don't literally cut the wheels and everything, but I've
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
created the concept and
Right. Right.
the whole what the functions are of the movement and how they're going to work and how how it all sort of
Hmm.
gets together. Then I'm working with some of the best people in Switzerland and sort of conceptualizing it into a physical movement.
Well,
Yeah.
what is it? Because like how I deal with race watches, I deal with watches and drivers and everything. So many drivers have watch sponsors or they're ambassadors, as you say.
Mhm.
Um, what is that? There's such a connection between race car drivers and watches. What brings that connection to the forefront with you guys?
Well, I think it's a natural sort of connection there. It's very mechanical. It's engineering, and as for men, it's really the only accessory or jewelry or whatever you say that you can wear. And that's interesting. So I think if you turn it around, it's sort of our Louis Vuitton bag or our
Right,
uh,
right.
nice shoes or whatever, whatever women are into. So I mean, but I think most men are into cars and watches. It's a
Hmm.
natural sort of thing. Um, yeah, and I mean, most men, if they do become a little bit successful, they inevitably gravitate towards the nice car and the nice watch, I think.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We think alike. I like to say that it's the only piece of bling a guy could wear without looking like a total idiot.
Well, that's what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, if you want, if it's okay for some people to wear the gold chains, but most guys aren't comfortable with it.
No, no,
So,
exactly. But the watch is, and it's a talking piece, and
hmm.
it is fascinating, In
Hmm.
some ways, I think the engineering
Hmm.
is more tricky in a watch than it is in a car in many ways, because the packaging is.
So
I
small.
mean, if you think of what you cram into that small space,
Hmm.
And if you look at some of the really complicated, complications, I mean, it's extraordinary,
Mm-hmm.
how it all works and how you put it all together. So I think,
Mm. I'm sure.
it, yeah.
I'm sure some of the Swiss engineers, when they look at the Formula One cars, and the engineers of Formula One talk about how they cram all that stuff in such a small space, the guys from Switzerland must be laughing at them, getting all that stuff in.
Yeah, well, actually, one of my sort of goals going forward, when I hopefully grow the business a little bit, is to actually get some of these F1 designers involved in the watchmaking.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Because I'll tell you one thing, I mean, I've been blessed in as much as I've been able to work with some of the
Hmm.
greatest people in the business, and it's fascinating to be in that environment, and work with these guys and the stuff that they come up with, and the time frame they come up with these ideas, it's just
Hmm.
it's mind-boggling, some of it, and it's just great, such a great thing to be in that environment and be able to work with those guys,
Oh,
It really is.
it boggles my mind also what they accomplish in Formula One.
Yeah,
So, all right, Stefan, I want to thank you for this racing interview to turn into a watch interview. uh, uh,
absolutely.
thank you for coming on Oversteer TV.
Thank you. I appreciate it.